Hello and welcome to Untwisted Threads. This is Universal Yarn Deluxe Worsted. This 100% wool yarn features 90 colors. The colorway that we chose is 71659 Moonlight Jade. This 100-gram skein with 201 meters or 220 yards works up as a worsted weight yarn. The suggested gauge on US 7 or 4.5 millimeter needles is 18 stitches in 24 rows per 4 inches or 10 centimeters. For our swatch, I will be using a 5.5 millimeter needle size. In today's video, we're going to review and score Universal Yarn Deluxe Worsted using our 5 categories, which are availability, softness, traction, durability, and cost, to help you decide if this is the best yarn for you and your next project. Stay tuned until the end for a few pattern recommendations as well. If you want to feel this yarn for yourself, please consider supporting us on Patreon. We send out these yarn cards every single month to our amazing community so you can have your own personal yarn library to refer to for any project. Let's get started. For availability, we give Deluxe Worsted a score of 3.5 out of 5. Although Universal Yarn originate here in the States, this particular yarn is not as common as the previous yarn we have reviewed from this company. It is available on Lovecrafts and Yarn.com, but is most commonly found in US-based smaller yarn shop websites. For softness, we give it a score of 4 out of 5. I was happy to find that this yarn was softer when working with it than it felt in the hank. Aside from all the fuzz and fluff flying around and on my face when winding it into a cake, it has a fuzzy and cloud-like quality, but it doesn't have that lightweight feeling as, say, a blown yarn does. For comparison, it is softer than Sandnes Garn Sisu and not quite as soft as Valley Yarns Northampton. I'd say it's pretty comparable to Drop Soft Tweed. For a micron count or softness scale rating, it's a little tough for me to say for certain since the label and website don't include what type of wool is used in this yarn or where it originates from, which is a little bit of a pet peeve of mine at this point because 100% wool just doesn't narrow it down enough for me. But getting back on track, if I had to guess, it would be around a 26 micron count rating, which is just slightly softer than the average 27 rating for a Peruvian Highland wool. I of course have felt more rustic and also softer yarns than this before, but I would consider this one to be on the softer side of a happy medium. And if this is a Peruvian Highland wool, like 100% wool yarns often are, then it is a fiber that is light, soft, and absorbs moisture that will keep you nice and warm. It is also known for its breathability and will actively react to the changes in a body's temperature. For traction, we give it a score of 4.5 out of 5. Even with its fuzzy nature, I enjoyed working with this one. It knitted up well for me, not too slippery and not too much grip on my nickel-plated needles. The twist of this yarn also didn't give me any issues with splitting or coming apart. As you can probably imagine, this yarn acted a bit like a Peruvian Highland wool, but this one has that little bit of a softer hand. Whether you are a beginner or even a more experienced knitter, I think it has a great amount of traction and glide on the needles. For durability, we give it a score of 4.5 out of 5. Because it is not superwash treated, you will need to hand wash your garment made with this yarn. Again, if this did happen to be a Peruvian Highland wool, their qualities would allow this yarn to have an increased amount of strength and is hardier than, for example, merino yarn. As is the nature of wool, you may have some pilling and could experience some felting and high friction areas, so that is something to keep an eye out for. This yarn is feltable, especially with all of its fibers sticking up, so again, high heat, irritation, and moisture could cause your projects to change in ways that you don't want it to. For cost, we give it a score of 4 out of 5. For being a 100-gram skein, you can expect to pay $8.50 US per skein. That breaks down to nearly 4 cents per yard, meaning a size medium sweater would cost around $42.50, which I think is a pretty good low to mid-priced yarn. Overall, we give Deluxe Worsted a score of 4.1 out of 5. It was a soft and fuzzy yarn and an enjoyable experience to knit with. I just wish I knew what kind of wool yarn it is, because that would say a lot about longevity and the strength of its fibers. But regardless, there are so many colors to choose from, and I think you could easily use this yarn instead of Cascade 220 if that one is too rustic for your skin. So we had a little look on Ravelry and wanted to share a few pattern recommendations with you, hopefully to inspire you if you're wanting to use this yarn for a project of your own. The first pattern is the Brambles Beret by StrangeKnits. This free hat pattern comes in 3 sizes with different lengths, and it is recommended that you use an animal fiber yarn like this one. It includes 1x1 ribbing, cables, texture, and a floral-like design when looking at it flat from the top down. It is worked from the ribbing to the top and includes seamless decreases similar to a beanie. The next pattern is the Irish Hiking Scarf by Adrian Bizilia. This free scarf pattern features all over squishy cables and a ribbing texture. The finished garments are 5.5 inches wide by 55 inches long, but you of course could make it wider and longer if you wanted to by adding additional stitch repeats. It takes approximately 350 yards, which would be less than 2 skeins of this yarn, so for under $20, I think it could be a very nice gift knit too. The last pattern is the February Hat by Kate Osborn. Another free pattern, this textured hat comes in 1 size with a finished circumference of 19.5 inches and 9.5 inches in height unstretched. This hat begins with a provisional cast on, then a deep folded brim is worked in a knit 1 purl 1 ribbing. Once the ribbing is complete, the provisional cast on is unpicked and placed on a spare circular needle, and the stitches are joined to create a folded brim. After the brim is complete, the body of the hat is worked in a textured stripe pattern from a chart. The chart is worked 4 times around. Decreases shape the crown, and you can add a pom-pom if you'd like to complete the look. It may not be super cold anymore where you are, but I think this could be a fun hat to add to your library for next fall or winter if you're looking for something fun and different than a simple stockinette hat. Have you used Universal Yarns Deluxe Worsted yarn before? What yarn would you like for us to do a review on next? We would love to hear your thoughts and recommendations in the comments below. If you enjoyed today's review, please give this video a like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.